When the world's richest man walks into your family dealership, you don't turn him away. But that's exactly what Thad Raven did. Electric cars are just a fad, he told Elon Musk to his face, ignoring his daughter Marina's horrified expression. Raven Motors sells real cars. Always has, always will. 24 hours later, Raven Motors belonged to Tesla. But that was just the beginning of a story 3 generations in the making. A story of family secrets, impossible technology, and the greatest technological deception ever played on mankind. Sometimes the best way to hide the future is to pretend you're stuck in the past. Thad Raven's weathered hands traced the gold lettering on his office door. Raven Motors, 1945. It still sparkled in the early morning sun, just like it had when his grandfather first opened the dealership. He pulled out his ring of keys, selecting the oldest brass one without even looking. Some habits never changed, and Thad liked it that way. The smell of leather and coffee greeted him as he stepped inside. Sarah, his secretary of 20 years, already had his morning cup waiting. "Morning, Mr. Raven," she called out, her face pinched with worry. "Your daughter's been trying to reach you." Thad sighed, settling into his creaky office chair. Marina was probably calling about those electric car proposals again. His daughter was brilliant, too brilliant sometimes, just like her mother had been. He pushed that thought away quickly. Some memories were better left in their boxes, locked up tight like the old filing cabinet in the corner of his office. The morning sun caught the faces in the photo on his desk, himself much younger, with an arm around his late wife, Eleanor. In front of them stood a tiny Marina, missing her front teeth, holding up a toy car. His throat tightened. Eleanor would have turned 60 today. "Dad?" Marina's voice burst into the office, along with the clip-clop of her sensible business shoes. "You're not going to believe the numbers I found." Thad looked up at his daughter. At 28, she was the spitting image of Eleanor. Same determined brown eyes, same stubborn chin, same way of barging in with new ideas that would revolutionize their business. "Morning, sweetheart," he said, trying to smile. "What numbers?" Marina spread papers across his desk, her excitement making her words tumble out fast. "Electric car sales are up 300% in our area. 300%. And we're losing customers to dealerships 2 hours away because they offer electric options. We have to adapt, Dad. The world is changing." Dad's jaw tightened. "Raven Motors sells real cars, Marina. Cars with heart, with soul. These electric toys are just a fad." Marina's voice rose. "Tesla's worth more than the top 10 traditional car companies combined. People want clean energy." "They want what people want, and what they need are different things," Thad cut in, his voice firm. "Your grandfather built this business on trust, on knowing what makes a real car. I won't throw away 75 years of reputation to chase some Silicon Valley dream." He saw the hurt flash across Marina's face and felt a stab of guilt. She was trying to help, just like Eleanor always had, but he had his reasons locked away in that filing cabinet. Reasons that kept him awake at night. "The bank called again," Marina said quietly. "We're down 40% from last year. If things don't change..." Thad stood up, walking to the window. Outside, rows of shiny new cars caught the morning light. Traditional cars. Safe cars. Cars that wouldn't. He pushed the thought away again. "I remember when you were 5, he said softly. "You used to run up and down these aisles, naming every car by make and model. You knew them all, could tell a customer the horsepower of any engine on the lot." "I remember," Marina said. "Mom used to quiz me." The mention of Eleanor made them both fall silent. Thad's eyes drifted to the filing cabinet in the corner. Inside, beneath years of paperwork, lay the truth about why he really couldn't change, why he wouldn't risk electric cars. Not again. "Dad? Dad?" Marina tried one more time. "At least look at the proposals for me, for the future of Raven Motors." Thad turned back to his daughter, seeing Eleanor's determination in her eyes. His heart ached. If Marina ever found out the real reason behind his resistance... But no. That secret had to stay buried, just like Eleanor. "I'll think about it," he said, knowing he couldn't. Marina nodded, gathering her papers. She paused at the door, looking back at him with eyes that seemed older than her years. "Mom would have wanted us to grow, Dad, to change with the times. You know that." After she left, Thad sank back into his chair, feeling every one of his 63 years. Outside, a young family walked the lot, barely glancing at the rows of cars before driving away. probably heading to that new Tesla dealership in the city. He pulled out his wallet, removing a worn photo hidden behind his driver's license. Eleanor stood in front of an old garage, her hand on a car covered with a sheet, her last project, her last dream. "I'm sorry, love," he whispered to the photo, "but I promised you, never again, no matter what." Sarah's voice crackled over the intercom, startling him. "Mr. Raven, there's someone here to see you. Says it's important." Thad tucked the photo away, straightening his tie. Another day, another customer, another chance to protect his family's legacy and his secrets from a changing world that didn't understand what was really at stake. "Send them in, Sarah," he said, glancing one last time at the locked filing cabinet. Some secrets were worth any price to keep, even if that price was watching his daughter's dreams slip away, one electric car at a time. The office door swung open and Thad's coffee cup nearly slipped from his fingers. Standing in his doorway was a face he'd seen countless times on TV and magazine covers, though the actual person seemed somehow both more casual and more intense than his photos suggested. "Mr. Raven?" Elon Musk stepped into the office wearing a simple black t-shirt and jeans. "Hope I'm not interrupting anything important." Sarah hovered behind him, her eyes wide with disbelief. Thad waved her away, straightening in his chair. "Mr. Musk," he said carefully, "this is unexpected." "Call me Elon," he said, walking to the window, studying the rows of cars outside. "Nice inventory, very traditional." The way he said traditional made Thad's neck hairs bristle. "We're a traditional business, family-owned since 1945. "I know." Musk turned his eyes, landing on the locked filing cabinet. Something flickered across his face, recognition. "I've done my research on Raven Motors. Fascinating history." Before Thad could respond, Marina burst through the door. "Dad, the bank just..." She froze, her professional facade cracking for just a moment. "Oh my God." "Perfect timing," Musk smiled. "I was just about to discuss an opportunity with your father." Marina sank into a chair, her eyes darting between them. In the morning light, she looked so much like Eleanor that Thad's chest ached. The same hope in her eyes, the same dangerous excitement about new possibilities. "We're not interested in opportunities," Thad said firmly, standing up. "Raven Motors is doing just fine." "Really?" Musk pulled out his phone, scrolling through some data. "Your sales are down 40% this year. Electric vehicle inquiries in your area are up 300%, and your bank." He glanced at Marina. "Well, I'm sure you know about the bank." Thad's hands clenched. "You've been watching us." "I've been watching everyone," Musk replied. "But your dealership," Musk walked to the filing cabinet, running a finger along its dusty top. "It caught my special attention." Marina leaned forward. "Mr. Musk, we'd love to hear," she began, but was quickly cut off by Mr. Musk. "I appreciate your visit, but Raven Motors isn't for sale. We don't need Tesla or any other electric car manufacturer telling us how to run our business." A young man appeared in the doorway, Xavier Chen, their newest mechanic. "Mr. Raven, sorry to interrupt, but there's something in the basement you need to see." "Not now," Thad snapped. "But sir, we found some old blueprints behind the..." "I said not now!" Thad's voice boomed through the office. Xavier backed away, but not before exchanging a meaningful look with Marina. Musk watched the exchange with interest. "Blueprints in the basement? How intriguing." "Nothing intriguing about it," Thad said too quickly. "Old building plans, nothing more." Marina's voice was quiet but firm. "We should at least listen to what Mr. Musk has to say. Tesla is prepared to make Raven Motors our flagship traditional to electric conversion site." Musk smiled. "We'd keep your name, your legacy, but we'd bring you into the future the way Eleanor would have wanted." The room went dead silent. Thad felt the blood drain from his face. "What did you say?" "Eleanor Raven," Musk said, not looking up from the filing cabinet. "Your wife, a brilliant engineer. She had some fascinating ideas about electric vehicle development before her accident, of course." Marina stood up so fast her chair tipped over. "How do you know about my mother's ideas?" Thad's voice turned dangerous. "Mr. Musk, I think it's time for you to leave." "Think about it, Mr. Raven," Musk said, heading for the door, pausing to hand Marina his card. "The future is coming, whether you embrace it or not. And some secrets," he glanced at the filing cabinet one last time, "are better shared before they're discovered." After Musk left, Marina rounded on her father. "What was he talking about? What did Mom design? Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Go help Xavier in the basement," Thad said, his voice shaking. That's an order, not a request. Marina stormed out, but not before Thad saw the tears in her eyes. The same tears he'd seen in Eleanor's eyes that last night when she'd begged him to reconsider, to look at her designs one more time. Alone in his office, Thad pulled out his keys, finding the small silver one he hadn't used in years. The filing cabinet's lock felt cold under his fingers. But before he could turn the key, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The prototype still exists, and I know where it is. Thad sank into his chair, the phone slipping from his trembling fingers. In the distance, he could hear Marina and Xavier's voices from the basement, getting closer to a truth he'd spent 30 years trying to bury, a truth that had already cost him everything once before. The basement air was thick with dust and memories. Marina switched on her phone's flashlight, illuminating rows of forgotten filing cabinets and stacked boxes. Xavier stood beside her, holding up a yellowed blueprint. Look at the date, he whispered, as if the past might hear them. 1992. And that's your mom's signature. Marina's hand trembled as she traced her mother's elegant handwriting, Eleanor Raven. The name was written above a technical drawing that made her heart skip. It wasn't a traditional car design at all. It was something else entirely. An electric engine, she breathed. But Dad always said the sound of footsteps on the basement stairs made them both jump. Marina quickly folded the blueprint and stuffed it into her jacket pocket. Marina, Sarah's voice echoed through the basement. The bank manager is here. He says it's urgent. Upstairs in the conference room, Mr. Peterson from First National had spread documents across the table. His face looked like he was attending a funeral. Miss Raven, I wish I had better news. Marina sank into a chair, her mother's blueprint burning a hole in her pocket. How bad is it? We're calling in the loans, all of them. You have 30 days to either pay in full or... He cleared his throat. Find a buyer. 30 days, Marina's voice cracked. That's impossible. We've been with your bank for 3 generations. Which is why you're getting 30 days instead of 14. Peterson wouldn't meet her eyes. Times are changing, Miss Raven. The market is shifting, without adapting to new technologies. The blueprint felt heavier in her pocket. Had her mother seen this coming? Had she tried to prevent it? A sharp knock made them both turn. Thad stood in the doorway, his face ashen. Marina, my office now. She followed him, leaving Peterson and his devastating papers behind. In his office, Thad locked the door and pulled down the blinds. What did you find in the basement? His voice was barely a whisper. Marina's hand went to her pocket. Nothing. Don't lie to me. Thad sank into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his years. Not today. He pulled out his phone, showing her the mysterious text. The prototype. What prototype? Instead of answering, Thad opened his desk drawer and removed an old newspaper clipping. The headline made Marina's blood run cold. Local engineer dies in late-night lab fire. Mom's accident, she whispered. No, Thad's voice broke. Not an accident, never an accident. Before he could continue, his phone rang. The number was blocked. Thad answered on speaker, his hand shaking. Hello, old friend. The voice was digitally distorted. Don't. Remember what happened the last time someone got too curious about Eleanor's work? 30 days is a long time. Accidents happen. The line went dead. Marina felt the room spin. Dad, what's going on? What aren't you telling me? Thad stood up and walked to the window, his back to her. Your mother, she was working on something. Something revolutionary. But there were people who didn't want it to succeed. People who... He stopped, his shoulders shaking. The blueprint felt like it was burning now. Marina pulled it out, unfolding it carefully. Like this, Thad turned when he saw the drawing. All color drained from his face. Where did you... His eyes darted to the filing cabinet, then back to the blueprint. Put that away. Now. No, Marina stood her ground. Mom died trying to build this, didn't she? And you've been hiding it all these years, pretending to hate electric cars because they killed her for it. Thad's shout echoed through the office. Outside, conversation stopped. In the silence that followed, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Running footsteps. Xavier burst in despite the locked door. He must have used his maintenance key. Mr. Raven, someone broke into the basement storage. The old files, they're all gone. Marina looked at the blueprint in her hands, maybe the last piece of evidence of her mother's true work. Behind her, Thad was already pulling out the silver key to the filing cabinet. "It's starting again," he whispered. "God help us. It's all starting again." The phone buzzed one more time, a new text. "Found them. All of them. Tick-tock, Thad. Tick-tock." Through the window, Marina watched a black car pull away from the dealership, its electric motor completely silent. Marina's hands shook as she pressed them against the window bow, watching the black car disappear around the corner. "Dad, who would?" Thad slumped in his chair, looking deflated. "Please, just don't ask questions I can't answer." "Can't or won't?" Marina spun around, her mother's blueprint still clutched in her hand. "Mom died for this. She died trying to create something amazing, and you've spent my entire life pretending she was just a regular housewife who had a tragic accident." Xavier shifted uncomfortably by the door. "I should probably stay," he said. "You're already involved. Might as well hear it all," Thad said, surprising them both. He pulled out his phone, showing them a news alert that made Marina's stomach drop. Tesla announces major acquisition plans in Midwest. Multiple dealerships targeted. "It's not just us," Thad said quietly. "Musk is buying up everything within a 100-mile radius." "But he came here first," Marina said. "Why do you think that is?" She looked down at the blueprint. The design was decades ahead of its time, Pro. She could see that even with her limited engineering knowledge. Because of Mom's work, Thad's voice cracked. Eleanor wasn't just brilliant, she was revolutionary. That design you're holding, it's not just an electric engine, it's something else entirely, something that could have changed everything. Xavier moved closer, studying the blueprint. "These power ratios, they're impossible," Marina asked. "What?" "If these calculations are right, this engine would have 3 times the range of anything on the market today, and it was designed in 1992. Thad stood suddenly, moving to the filing cabinet. His hands trembled as he inserted the key. "There's more, so much more. But if they're really watching, a sharp knock made them all jump." Sarah's voice came through the door. "Mr. Raven, you need to see this now." They crowded around Sarah's computer, watching a live news feed. Elon Musk stood at a podium, his face serious. "Today, Tesla is announcing a historic initiative to preserve and revitalize America's automotive heritage. We're not just acquiring dealerships, we're acquiring history. Innovation doesn't just move forward. Sometimes we need to look back to move ahead." The camera panned to show a covered object behind him. Something about its shape made Marina's heart race. "Dad," she whispered, "that looks like the prototype." Thad's face went ghost white. He found it after all these years. Xavier squinted at the screen. "Found what?" Before anyone could answer, every phone in the office buzzed simultaneously. Marina pulled hers out, reading the text aloud. "Channel 7 News, 6 p.m. Tonight, the truth about Elena Raven will finally come out. Hope you're ready." Thad grabbed his keys and jacket. "I have to go now." "Go where?" Marina caught his arm. "Dad, stop. No more running, no more hiding. What's really going on?" In the silence that followed, they heard footsteps in the hallway again. But this time, they were accompanied by voices, official voices. "FBI, everyone stay where you are." Marina watched her father's face crumple. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I tried to protect you, just like I tried to protect her." The office door burst open. 2 agents in dark suits entered, followed by someone who made Marina's blood run cold. The same man from the photograph on her mother's desk, 30 years older but unmistakable. "Hello, Thad," the man said softly. "It's been a long time." "Robert?" Thad's voice was barely a whisper. "You were supposed to be dead." "Dead?" Robert smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just waiting, watching, making sure Alora's greatest work stayed buried." He glanced at the blueprint in Marina's hands. Well, almost buried. Marina looked between them, pieces falling into place. You knew my mother?" "Of course," Robert laughed. "I was her research partner right up until the night your father chose his precious dealership's reputation over her life." Dad lunged forward, but the FBI agents caught him. "That's not what happened. You don't know what they threatened to do." "Dad?" Marina's voice shook. "What is he talking about?" Before Thad could answer, a familiar figure appeared in the doorway. Elon Musk stepped into the office, his eyes fixed on the blueprint in Marina's hands. "Well," he said quietly, "shall we tell her the truth about what really happened that night? About why Eleanor Raven had to die?" Through the window, more black cars pulled into the lot, but these weren't Teslas. They were hearses. The next morning dawned with an eerie quiet over Raven Motors. Sarah arrived first, as usual, her keys jingling in the early morning stillness. But something was wrong. The front door was already unlocked. Inside, a stack of papers sat on her desk, documents she'd never seen before, ownership transfer forms, sales contracts, all of them stamped with yesterday's date, all of them bearing Thad's signature. "Mr. Raven," she called out, her voice echoing through the empty building. No answer. One by one, employees trickled in. Xavier arrived with Marina, both looking like they hadn't slept. Their faces fell when they saw Sarah's expression. "He's gone, isn't he?" Marina asked quietly, before Sarah could answer. A fleet of Tesla vehicles pulled into the lot. Men in suits emerged, carrying boxes and laptops. Leading them was a young woman in a sharp business suit. "Good morning," she announced, striding into the dealership. "I'm Jennifer Hayes, Tesla's transition manager. As of midnight last night, Raven Motors is officially under new management." Marina grabbed the ownership papers from Sarah's desk, scanning them frantically. "This can't be legal. Dad would never." "Your father signed everything quite willingly," Jennifer said, not unkindly. "After certain revelations came to light." Xavier stepped forward. "Where is he? And what happened to Robert and those FBI agents?" Jennifer's professional smile flickered. "I'm not at liberty to discuss ongoing federal investigations. Now, if you'll all gather in the conference room, we can begin the transition process." Marina didn't move. "The hearses. Why were there hearses?" Jennifer's voice dropped to a whisper. "Some questions are better left unanswered for everyone's safety." Marina's phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Her hands shook as she read the message. "Storage Unit 247, Airport Road, midnight. Come alone if you want the truth." "Mom," she almost dropped the phone. The text was impossible. Her mother had been dead for 30 years. Unless Marina. Xavier touched her arm. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." A ghost? Or maybe a truth that had been haunting them all along. More Tesla employees poured in, beginning to change signs and set up new computer systems. Sarah wept quietly at her desk as they removed the old Raven Motors logo from the wall. 3 generations of history erased in minutes. Marina walked to her father's office. The door was open, the room already half-packed. The filing cabinet stood empty, its drawers hanging open like wounds. On the desk sat a single envelope with her name on it. Inside was a key and a note in her father's shaky handwriting. "The prototype wasn't the only thing your mother left behind. I'm sorry for everything. Don't trust Musk, don't trust Robert, and whatever you do." The note ended there, the pen trailing off as if he'd been interrupted. Marina pocketed the key, her mind racing. It looked exactly like the key her father had used on the filing cabinet, but this one was new, freshly cut. "Miss Raven," Jennifer appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Musk would like to speak with you. He's on video conference in the main showroom." Marina nodded, but her attention was caught by something outside the window. The black car from yesterday was back, parked across the street. Inside, a figure sat watching. Even from this distance, she could see they were wearing a necklace that caught the morning light, a necklace that looked exactly like the one in her mother's last photograph. Her phone buzzed again. Another text. "The hearses weren't for the dead, dear. They were for the living. Midnight. Come alone." In the showroom, Elon Musk's face filled a giant screen. He smiled when he saw her, but something about his expression sent chills down Marina's spine. "Ah, Marina," he said, "I trust you found your father's note and the key?" She stiffened. "How did you?" "I know a great many things," Musk interrupted. "About your mother's work, about what really happened that night, about why those hearses were necessary." His smile widened. "The question is, are you ready to know too?" Behind her, Xavier appeared in the doorway holding something in his hand, a small electronic device, its screen pulsing with a familiar pattern, the same pattern from her mother's blueprint. "Marina," Musk said softly, "you have 12 hours to decide. The truth or your father's safety. Choose wisely." The screen went black. Outside, the black car started its engine. Marina clutched the key in her pocket, her mother's impossible text burning in her mind. Midnight suddenly felt very far away and terrifyingly close. Xavier held up the electronic device, his voice barely a whisper. "You need to see this now." Marina followed him to the dealership's garage, now mostly empty except for a few cars waiting for final service before the transition. The Tesla employees hadn't made it back here yet. I found this hidden inside the wall, Xavier said, pointing to a freshly opened panel behind an old tool cabinet. Look at the date stamp, Marina's breath caught. July 15th, 1992, the day before Mom. It's some kind of data recorder, Xavier said, pressing a button. A holographic display flickered to life, numbers and diagrams floating in the air between them, along with a familiar signature, Eleanor Raven. How is this possible? Marina reached out to touch the display, her fingers passing through the light. This kind of technology didn't exist back then. Exactly. Xavier's eyes gleamed. Your mom wasn't just ahead of her time. She was working with technology that shouldn't have existed at all. A noise from the front of the garage made them both jump. Xavier quickly shut off the device and slipped it into his pocket. Jennifer Hayes appeared around the corner. There you are, she said, her heels clicking on the concrete floor. The transition team needs your signatures on some paperwork, Miss Raven. I'll be right there, Marina said, waiting until Jennifer left. Then she turned back to Xavier. Meet me at storage unit 247 at 11:30. Whatever this is, we're going to need backup. The rest of the day passed in a blur of signatures and forced smiles. Marina watched as her family's legacy was dismantled piece by piece, all while her phone remained silent. No more text from the mysterious number, no word from her father. At 11:15 p.m., she pulled into the storage facility on Airport Road. Xavier was already waiting, the mysterious device glowing faintly through his jacket pocket. I did some digging, he said, as they walked toward Unit 247. Your mom had 3 patents pending when she died. All of them were immediately classified by the government. But here's the weird part. They weren't filed under Department of Energy or Transportation. Marina stopped. Then what department? Defense. Xavier pulled out his phone, showing her the heavily redacted documents he'd found. Whatever your mom was working on, the military wanted it. They reached Unit 247. Marina pulled out the key her father had left her, her hand trembling as she fitted it into the lock. It didn't work. Try this. Xavier handed her the electronic device. As soon as it got near the lock, numbers began scrolling across its screen. The lock clicked open on its own. Inside the storage unit was empty except for a single filing cabinet, identical to the one from her father's office. Marina used the key again. This time, it worked. The drawer slid open with a groan, revealing stacks of letters, all addressed to Marina, all dated after her mother's death. Dear Marina, she read aloud, her voice shaking. If you're reading this, then everything we feared has finally happened. The prototype wasn't just an electric car. It was something far more dangerous and far more important. Xavier pulled out more letters. They're all like this, like she knew what was coming, like she was leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. But why? Marina flipped through the letters. Why not just tell us the truth? Because the truth would have gotten you killed. They spun around. Robert stood in the doorway, looking both older and more dangerous than he had that morning. Your mother knew too much, he said softly, about the technology, about where it really came from, about what Tesla is really planning to do with it. What are you talking about? Marina stepped forward. What technology? Robert smiled sadly. You've been asking the wrong question all along, Marina. The real question isn't what your mother was working on. He pulled something from his pocket, a necklace identical to her mother's. The question is who she was working with. The necklace began to glow with an impossible light. Behind them, the electronic device in Xavier's pocket started beeping frantically, and somewhere in the distance a clock began to strike midnight. The necklace's glow cast strange shadows across Robert's face as he stepped into the storage unit. Your mother wasn't just brilliant, Marina, he said softly. She was chosen. Chosen, Marina's voice cracked. By who? Before Robert could answer, a familiar figure appeared behind him. That Raven, looking exhausted but alive, pushed past Robert into the unit. By them, he said quietly, pointing to the necklace. The same ones who gave us the technology in 1945. The real reason your grandfather started Raven Motors. Xavier's hand tightened around the electronic device in his pocket. Mr. Raven, what are you saying? Show her, Robert said to Thad. She deserves to know everything. Now, Thad pulled out another necklace, identical to Robert's, from beneath his shirt. When he held it near the filing cabinet, a hidden panel slid open in the back, revealing a small metallic cube. The prototype was never a car, Thad said, his voice heavy with decades of secrets. The car was just a cover. What your mother designed, what she died protecting, was a clean energy source that could have powered the entire world forever. Marina's hands trembled as she reached for the cube. But that's impossible. Impossible with Earth technology, Robert corrected, but not impossible with help from elsewhere. The cube began to hum, floating slightly above Marina's palm. Inside, something that looked like liquid starlight swirled and pulsed. In 1945, your grandfather had a visitor, Thad continued, someone who showed him technology beyond anything humans had achieved. They chose certain families to be guardians, to slowly introduce their advances in a way that wouldn't shock or disrupt human society. Raven Motors was never just a car dealership, Robert added. It was a front, a way to gradually release pieces of their technology into the world. Marina's mind raced back through everything she knew. The electric car designs, they weren't ahead of their time. They were extraterrestrial. Your mother was doing more than just continuing your grandfather's work, Thad finished. She found a way to merge their technology with ours, something that had never been done before. Xavier pulled out the electronic device, which was now pulsing in sync with the cube. And this, Robert said softly, your mother's greatest achievement, a bridge between two worlds' technologies. But there were those who didn't want that bridge built. Marina asked. Thad shook his head. Musk is like us, Robert explained, a chosen guardian, but he has different ideas about how fast humanity should receive these advances. He thinks we're ready for everything now. Your mother disagreed. She wanted to be more careful, more gradual. The night she died, Robert's voice caught. We were supposed to demonstrate the merger technology, but someone sabotaged the lab. The fire wasn't an accident. Marina felt tears rolling down her cheeks. But the texts, the messages from Mom? Thad and Robert exchanged looks. Marina, her father said gently, your mother isn't dead. The cube flared brightly, and a holographic image appeared above it. A face Marina had only known from photographs, but older, lined with 30 years of time. Hello, sweetheart, Eleanor Raven said, her translucent form smiling sadly. I'm so sorry I had to leave, but they gave me no choice. The only way to protect the technology, to protect you, was to make them think they'd won. Mom? Marina reached out her hand, passing through the hologram. The hearses weren't hers at all, Robert explained. They're transport vehicles for getting Eleanor back. Back from where? Xavier asked. The cube pulsed again, changing, showing a facility unlike anything on Earth. Through its windows, unfamiliar stars glittered against a purple sky. From home, Eleanor said simply. Their home, where I've been continuing my work. And now, thanks to Elon forcing the issue, it's time for the truth to come out. All of it. A sound like thunder rolled overhead. Marina ran to the storage unit's high-time entrance and looked up. The night sky was changing, rippling like water. Through that ripple, something massive was emerging. Is that? Xavier couldn't finish the sentence. Eleanor's hologram said, it's just the beginning. The cube rose from Marina's hand, its light growing blinding. Around her neck, a third necklace materialized, a gift from across the stars, passed down through generations of Raven women. It was time for the next guardian to take her place, Eleanor said, and this time, the whole world would be watching. The massive ship hovering above the storage facility cast everything in an ethereal blue light. Marina touched her new necklace, feeling it pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. Mom, she whispered to the hologram, all those years, were you watching me? Eleanor's translucent form smiled. Every day, every birthday, every time you stood up to your father about electric cars, I saw you growing into exactly who you needed to be. Thad stepped forward. I wanted to tell you so many times, but the agreement is void now, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see Elon Musk standing in the entrance, his own necklace glowing brightly. The others have decided it's time. Behind him, sleek black vehicles pulled into the storage facility, Tesla cars that suddenly looked far more advanced than anything on the market. Their doors opened to reveal more people wearing the distinctive necklaces. The Guardians, Robert explained. From every major tech company in the world, we've all been working toward this moment. Marina's mind reeled. But why now? Why all the secrecy and threats? Because, Eleanor's hologram said, we needed to be sure you were ready, that the world was ready. The texts, the mysterious car, the hearses, all tests to see how you'd handle the truth and to see if you'd choose the right path. Musk added, unlike your predecessor. He glanced at Thad. Marina turned to her father. Dad? Thad's shoulders slumped. When your mother discovered how to merge our technologies, I got scared. Tried to stop her. That's why she had to leave. My fear nearly destroyed everything she'd worked for. But you protected the secrets Robert said kindly for 30 years. You kept Raven Motors exactly what it needed to be, a bridge between worlds. The cube floated to the center of the room, its light forming a complex holographic display of Earth surrounded by flowing lines of energy. The electric car revolution was just the beginning, Eleanor explained. A way to prepare humanity for what comes next, and now she looked at Marina with pride. It's your turn to lead the way. Xavier stepped forward, the electronic device still pulsing in his hand. What exactly are we leading toward? The answer came from above. The ship emitted a low hum, and suddenly every electronic device in a mile radius sprang to life. Cars, phones, computers, all powered by an invisible energy source that filled the air itself. Free energy, Marina breathed, understanding at last. That's what Mom's prototype really was. A way to share their power with our world, but it had to be done carefully. Musk said too fast and it would crash the global economy. Too slow and we'd destroy our planet before we could save it, Robert added. The Guardians have been guiding humanity's technological progress for generations, he continued. Each family playing its part, the Musks pushing boundaries, the Ravens building bridges, others maintaining balance. A series of images flashed through the cube, decades of technological advancement carefully orchestrated by the Guardians and their extraterrestrial allies. And now, Eleanor said, her hologram growing stronger, more solid, it's time for the next phase. Marina, take the cube. As Marina's fingers touched the device, it transformed, expanding into a complex mechanism that looked like a miniature version of the ship above. The merger your mother created, Thad explained, his voice thick with emotion. It doesn't just merge technologies, it merges worlds. The ground trembled slightly as more ships appeared in the sky, dozens, then hundreds, becoming visible as if emerging from behind an invisible curtain. They've always been here, Musk said softly, waiting, watching, helping in secret. And now, Marina finished, understanding flowing through her like electricity, we help them in return. Her necklace flared brilliantly, having connecting with all the others in a web of light. The cube in her hands began to transform again, revealing its true purpose. Not just a power source, but a key to unlock the next chapter of human evolution. What do you say, sweetheart? Eleanor's hologram held out a hand, looking more real with each passing second. Ready to change the world? Marina looked at her father, who nodded encouragingly, at Xavier, whose eyes shone with wonder and support, at the gathered Guardians, generations of secret keepers finally ready to share their knowledge, and up at the ships above, where her mother had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of both worlds on her shoulders. I'm ready, she said, but first, I think it's time for a family reunion. The cube pulsed one final time, and Eleanor's hologram began to solidify. After 30 years of secrets and separation, mother and daughter were about to meet again, and this time, nothing would tear them apart. The air crackled with energy as Eleanor's form became solid, real, alive. Marina reached out, trembling, and felt warm flesh instead of holographic light. Her mother's arms wrapped around her, 3 decades of separation dissolving in a single embrace. My beautiful girl, Eleanor whispered, touching Marina's face. You've grown so strong. Thad stepped forward hesitantly. Eleanor turned to him, her eyes soft. Oh, you stubborn old bear, you did exactly what you had to do. What we all had to do. Above them, the ships began to move in a complex pattern, their lights painting the night sky like an aurora. The gathered Guardians raised their necklaces in unison, creating a network of light that connected Earth to sky. It's beautiful, Xavier breathed, the device in his hand harmonizing with the energy around them. Musk stepped forward, his usual confidence tempered by reverence. Mrs. Raven, the merger sequence is ready. The world is watching. Every satellite, every phone, every screen is about to broadcast what happens here. Eleanor nodded, turning to Marina. Are you ready to show them who Raven Motors really is? Who we all really are? Marina gripped the cube, feeling its power flow through her. Yes, but I don't understand. Why did it have to be this way? Why the dealership? Why pretend to hate electric cars? Because a new voice said sometimes the best way to hide something is to pretend to oppose it. They turned to see an elderly man walking through the storage unit entrance. Marina gasped. She recognized him from the oldest photographs in the dealership. Grandfather Theodore Raven, founder of Raven Motors, looked exactly like his portrait from 1945, the year he claimed to have started the dealership, the year he had actually made first contact. The joke was on them all along, he said, smiling. Every time they laughed at our outdated dealership, every time they mocked our resistance to change, they never realized we were the ones bringing that change. The cube pulsed, projecting images of Raven Motors through the years. Every traditional car they'd sold had contained small elements of advanced technology, preparing humanity bit by bit. The real prototype, Eleanor explained, wasn't the engine or the power source, it was the dealership itself, a proving ground for how to introduce world-changing technology without causing panic, a living laboratory. Musk added, showing us exactly how fast we could push forward without breaking the system. The ships above began to descend, their formation creating a massive symbol in the sky, the same stylized raven that had served as the dealership's logo for 75 years. Your mother's work, Theodore said to Marina, proved that we could finally merge our technologies openly, but we needed someone to lead that merger, someone who understood both the old and the new, someone who could bridge worlds. Someone like you. Eleanor squeezed Marina's hand. Who fought for progress while respecting tradition, who saw the value in both. Marina looked at the cube in her hands, understanding flooding through her. The last laugh, it's that Raven Motors was never really about cars at all, was it? No, Thad said proudly. It was about you, all of it. 3 generations of Ravens preparing for this moment. The cube began to transform one final time, expanding into a console of pure light. On its surface, Marina could see 2 buttons, one marked with Earth's continents, one with an unfamiliar star pattern. The choice must be yours, Eleanor said softly. We can reveal everything now, merge our worlds completely, or we can continue as we have been, guiding humanity slowly, carefully. Marina looked at each face around her, her mother, returned from the stars, her father, freed from his burden of secrets, her grandfather, ageless and wise, Xavier, representing the wonder of discovery, Musk and the other Guardians, each playing their part in the grand design. She thought about every customer who had ever walked into Raven Motors unknowingly participating in humanity's greatest experiment, about every electric car they had refused to sell, even as they secretly advanced the technology, about the perfect joke they had played on the world. Marina smiled, her finger hovering over the buttons. Why choose? What do you mean? Musk asked. Raven Motors taught us something important, Marina said. Sometimes the best way forward is to make everyone think you're standing still. She pressed both buttons simultaneously. The cube flared with impossible light. Above, the ships began to fade from view, not leaving, but becoming part of the world's everyday reality, hiding in plain sight, just as Raven Motors always had. Now, Theodore said with pride, that's the Raven family way. Marina turned to her mother. Will you stay? Eleanor hugged her daughter close. Always. After all, she grinned, looking around at their gathered family of guardians and guides, humans and visitors, all united in their grand deception turned universal truth. Someone has to help run the dealership. Sometimes the greatest stories hide in plain sight, just like Raven Motors did. Speaking of hidden gems, I'd love to know where you're reading this from. Drop a comment below with your location and let me know what you thought about the big reveal. Did you see the twist coming? Were you Team Thad or Team Marina at the start? And most importantly, would you have turned away Elon Musk from your dealership? If this story sparked a little wonder in your day, consider sharing it with someone who needs a reminder that things aren't always what they seem. Hit that like button if you enjoyed our journey into the stars, and subscribe for more tales that blend the ordinary with the extraordinary. Remember, every great story needs someone to hear it, and your support helps spread a little magic across our own corner of the universe. Until our next adventure, stay curious.